Course 1, Lesson 94 has us changing fractions and decimals into percents again. You learned this earlier when you learned that if you had something like 3/5, you could turn that into percent by understanding percent is out of 100. So what's the factor that gets me to 100 on the bottom? It also will get me by the same factor to what I'm supposed to have on the top. So I multiply by 20 to get to 100, which means I stick to 20 on the top of my factor. I multiplied by 20, and that gets me to 60 over 100, or 60%. Now, another way is to simply multiply some fractions, this will work, by 100%. Okay? Maybe put it over 1 if that looks nicer to you. Sometimes we can do this, right? Cancel. Like we've learned how to simplify it so that we're down to 60% at the end over 1, or just 60%. So 1/4, instead of doing times top and bottom by 25, we could just multiply by 100% over 1 if you'd like. Okay, and then we could cancel across. And your final answer is 25%. If you have a mixed number like this one, understand a mixed number is showing both a whole side, which is very quick to turn into a percent, and then there's the fraction side. So with the whole side, what is 2 in percent? 2 wholes. Well, if 100% is 1 whole, right, that's 1. Then we just multiply 100% by 2, we get 200%. So this is 200% plus whatever this fraction is, which is what we're learning about today. You do the 200% plus 1/4, we just learned, but let's do this again. We do 1/4 times 100%. Let's say if we don't cancel, you end up with 100 over 4%, which we reduce to be 25%. We're almost done. What are these two put together? $225. So to change a number into percent, you multiply that number by 100%. It works for decimals the same as it did for fractions. If I have 375 thousandths, I multiply by 100%, 2 zeros, right? So that means I'm moving my decimal twice. Answer is 37.5, or 5/10. Now I'm in percent. Kind of like a mixed number here. I have a whole, and then I have 2/10. So the whole is 100%. That's this part. This part, you can multiply by 100%. 1, 2. That gives you 20%. Put them together. Or just know that if this is 1.2 and we want to multiply that by 100%, we take 1.2, move that decimal over twice, and you've got your answer. It's 120%. Lastly, how about a word problem? 20 of the 30 students on the bus were girls. What percent of the students on the bus were girls they're asking for? 20 out of 30 were. What's that in a percent? What is that as a percent? We multiply by 100%. That will give us our answer. Can we cancel before we go too far? This way we can take off 10. Now it's 200 over 3. Did something wrong here, because 200 over 3 is not right. Or is it? 200 over 3, when you actually divide this out, because the 3 on the bottom is going to make it a lot smaller, use a calculator and you find out that that is 2/3. That's what we want. It's 66.67%, or we could just say 66 and 2/3% are girls. Okay? So you multiply by 100%. Why don't you pick 3 from the top section, pick 2 from the bottom section, as well as do letter P. See how that one goes for you.